Welcome back to Adventures with the Hat Commander. We are on episode 7 of Vampire the Masquerade Coteries of New York. This is night 10, and my guy still hasn't washed his clothes or gotten a new change in outfit. And that being said, if you're undead, you probably don't sweat anymore. So aside from just picking up everyday dirt, I guess you could wear your clothes forever. Okay, so let's see, who are we going to help? So we've helped Agathon more than once. We've helped D'Angelo more than once. We've not helped her. I forgot her name already. Hope. That should have been an easy one. Tamika. We have helped at least once as well. So I'll have to go back to her. But take care of Sophie's problem first seems to be the appropriate thing to do. The weather is cold and windy. As you walk to Sophie's apartment, as a vampire, that doesn't matter anymore. You may have been saddled with eternal hunger, but at least you can ignore the wind chill. Just as you come to the door of Sophie's building, she storms out, murmuring into her phone. Yes, I know. Don't worry. I trust you to handle it. You've heard Sophie talk to her associates before. It's always the same, generalities and vague suggestions. Makes you think she's involved in mysterious machinations, yet doesn't tell you anything. Sophie's dressed to kill, but there's nothing unusual in that. She likes to make an impression. A black car with tinted windows is waiting for her in front of the door. A chauffeur steps out to open the car door for her. Sophie notices you. I'm glad you're in the neighborhood. She's dressed the same, but okay. If you could look around for me one more time, that would be wonderful. You told me you'd get rid of that porter. Turns out he's still here snooping around. Sophie is very good at communicating disappointment. She doesn't have to do much to make it clear that she's unhappy to have to return to this issue. I'll take care of it. After tonight, he won't trouble you anymore. Good, don't disappoint me. The reporter talked his way into the building during the day. Once the doorman understood what was happening, he threw him out. He showed old pictures of me to my neighbors. It's very awkward, you understand. Sophie disappears into the car, and the chauffeur closes the door behind her. You watch as the sleek vehicle disappears into the Manhattan traffic. Just one anonymous car among many. Best sit down somewhere and devise a plan of action. You're just going to have to kill him. You go to a nearby diner, settle into a booth, and order a coffee from the steely-eyed Latino waitress. I don't know. As she brings you your cup, you describe Frank Doherty to her on the off chance she's seen something. Just as she's about to answer, you happen to look outside. Something catches your eye. The diner is brightly lit, so you lean closer to the window to see the street through it. You got lucky. Frank is standing on the sidewalk on the other side of the street, looking at something on his phone. You slide out of the booth, throwing a few small bills on the table, mumbling something to the waitress. You step outside. For a reporter, Frank isn't terribly observant. You keep your distance, hiding behind people and cars, but he doesn't look around. It seems like he wants to find a private nook to inspect the photos he took tonight. An alley, he ducks in and you follow. Oh goodness, it's you again. Please, I'm working on a different story, I swear. Frank retreats deeper into the alley. Don't worry, Frank, I know all about why you're here. You do? Okay, I'm sorry I tried to BS you. Just tell me how I can help you. I find it hard to believe that your BS is so interesting. Your employer keeps sending you here again and again. A story's a story. Look, I don't want any trouble. I can see that you're serious. There's something to Sophie Langley. I think you know what it is. Take a long, hard look at Frank Doherty. He's a tenacious man, but not brave. After the last time you met, you were sure he had been dealt with. Where did he find the courage to come here again? I like you, Frank. You don't give up. What's your real angle here? Everybody plays an angle. That's one of the things you learn in my profession. You're smart. You know that there will be others after me. If there's a real story, they will come and find it. Your best shot is with a friendly reporter, someone you can trust, someone like me. So what do you say? Get ahead of the story. It'll be good for you and Miss Langley, too. You almost believe it, but something about Frank feels off. You don't say anything at first. It's easy to dismiss Frank as a joke. It has been. Yet there's something beneath his talk, another story. A moment of silence is all you need for your presence to properly register in Frank's mind. He's too weak-willed to resist. Someone's leaning on you, Frank. Come clean. What? No, absolutely not. Frank's voice sounds shrill. You know you got it right in one guess. Sometimes I just need some extra money, that's all. Where does this extra money come from? There's a guy. He's paying me, that's all. But I can't talk about that. Tell you what, Frank, I'll make this easy for you. Work for me and I'll make your life easier. I want to know who's after Sophie Langley. You can get me that information. Who knows, maybe this will become a lasting and lucrative relationship. Frank is taken aback by your suggestion. Still, he clearly needs a friend. I don't know. I mean, if there are people leaning on me, they won't take kindly to it if I help someone else. Let me help you, Frank. I suppose I shouldn't say no to that. Tell you what, next time something comes up, I'll give you a call. Maybe I'll have something you can do for me as well. Quid pro quo. What else is there? I am a pro. Frank hesitates for a second as if he was going to say something more. Takes one last look at you, turns and leaves the alley, disappearing into the crowd. You're left wondering whether that was a good choice. Frank is not reliable, that much is clear. But perhaps you can benefit from him anyway. Isn't that what the kindred do? Play people and turn them into puppets? All right, let's check out this. I thought it was Jessica. That kind of looks like Jessica, except for the hair. So maybe not. Someone is following you around. Has been for a few nights, maybe longer. That can't be a good thing. The only question is what to do about it. You venture out to the street with the goal of letting your stalker know you're aware of being followed. It's time to stop this ridiculous charade. It's raining outside, and as you step onto the street in front of your haven, you wonder whether that'll help you. Will you be able to see the footprints of your stalker in puddles on the ground? Not sure where to start, you slip a few bills to a homeless man, chat up the guy who runs the local bodega. Both of them talk your ear off about strange characters hanging around, but none of their stories seem right to you. Walking the streets, you're convinced by turns that everyone you see is an enemy agent out to get you, and that your stalker has decided to take the night off. It just occurred to me that if I had turned Jessica into a vampire, like my guy said, that's probably wasn't a real option, but that would have been a problem because I would just have to get permission before I sire somebody. Frustrated after a couple of hours of useless searching, you cross the road without looking where you're going. A courier on a motorbike zooms towards you and has no time to brake or swerve as you suddenly step in front of him. For a split second, your eyes meet those of the man on the bike, and you both know you'll collide. You'll get hurt. Something hits you, pushing you forward. You tremble, flying to the sidewalk as the courier zooms past. You feel a weight on your back, catch a glimpse of something, a person, a female. You think, and then she disappears. You could spend a couple more hours trying to find the woman who's been stalking you, but in your shriveled, undead heart, you know it to be futile. She's gone. All right. I guess we can see who this guy is. You haven't been to a church since you become a vampire or kindred. As the euphemism goes, you've had a focus on concrete, practical things like survival and feeding. You've learned the essentials of the vampire experience, but you don't really have a clear idea of what it all means. The Cathedral of St. John's the Divine is a New York landmark. You've been outside once before. When you were much younger, you marveled at its Gothic facade. Looking at it now from across the street, it feels ominous. The prospect of an ominous invitation to a secret meeting is a worrying one, but the venue is well chosen. It's hard to imagine a violent attack in a place like this, with eyes everywhere. You enter the cathedral discreetly. You've quickly learned this is an essential skill for a vampire, how to move without anyone noticing you. The full force of the cathedral's architecture hits you as you walk between the pews. If the architect meant to create the feeling of being small in the face of God's glory, mission accomplished. Based on the note, you're assuming that whoever you're meeting is somewhere in the front. As you step closer to the high altar, it feels as if something is dragging at your feet, as if the stone beneath you resists your movement. It's been a long time since you prayed. You wonder whether God listens to creatures like you. Fatalistically, you take a step, then another. You're not sure if your God is present in this cathedral, but perhaps it doesn't matter. What you feel is real enough. There's an old man sitting in the front. You see only the back of his head, bowed down in silent prayer. Your footsteps echo on the floor, and he turns to look at you. You can't take your eyes off him. He's tall, dignified, white hair, balding, a few strands escaping to the sides. He's wearing glasses and simple clerical clothing. His eyes are warm and pale, too kind for someone like you. Something is wrong. You feel heavy, as if the giant hand was pressing you down. The skin in your face is burning. Perhaps unconsciously you expected something like this, as a vampire walking into a cathedral, only it's not the building or God making you feel like you are burning alive. It's the man, the priest. Welcome, my child. The priest's tone is kind, but the rising panic inside is telling you that kindness is not for the likes of you. The man is looking straight into your soul. You turn and run the way you came, stumbling out of the cathedral. You emerge outside confused and scared. What was that? At least you escaped unharmed. You stand on a sidewalk confused and scared. No enemies seem to be attacking you. The priest didn't follow you. The night air is wet with the smell of the city, the same as every night. How did it feel? You look at the man speaking to you. He's well dressed, if a little archaic. Dark-haired, handsome, like a character from an old movie. He smiles as if he knows something you don't. You glance around. There are people on the street. You don't appear to be in immediate danger. Did you do this to me? No, absolutely not. Let me introduce myself. My name is Benoit Segal. Benoit? I have no idea. We share many things in common, even if you don't know me. I'm going to go with Benoit. Benoit offers his hand to you. Benoit's handshake is firm and dry. He looks at you intently, as if trying to find something in your eyes. Would you mind sitting with me for a moment? Benoit points to a park bench nearby in darkness because of a broken street light. Where you decide to follow him, only an enemy totally unconcerned with masquerade would attack you here. Benoit sits down and you follow suit. For a moment you both contemplate the cathedral in silence. I know how it feels, what you just felt. I've experienced it myself many times. For a moment you consider how to respond. It's clear Benoit sent the invitation to come here and orchestrated this little setup. What's the point? Why did you go to the trouble of getting me here? We share a connection, you and I. I'll explain it later, but right now the important thing is that it's so much easier to show than to tell. I wanted you to meet Father Anthony, or see him, experience him. Did you wonder why it felt like that? At first I thought it was because I was in church, but then I realized it came from him, the priest. I think you're right. It does come from him. It's his faith that makes you feel like that. He's safe in his belief, while you are one of the damned. Do you ever wonder what's the role of a vampire in God's creation? You stop to think. Of course, you've wondered what this is all about. Whether it's about God or nature, you don't really know what being a vampire means. That's the trouble with the masquerade. A human faced with a human problem can go online and find something that helps you can't. Masquerade means that everything there is to know about your condition is secret, hidden away. You're left relying on the unreliable opinion of people like Benoit. Suddenly, Benoit takes your hand and presses it against his chest. As he stares into your eyes, you feel his heart stop. My heart no longer beats, yet I move. I talk. Is that how God intended us to be? No, he didn't. I know he didn't. This is wrong. Yes, I agree. The question is, can there be a salvation for the likes of us? Sometimes I'm skeptical too. But in Father Anthony's presence, I know faith is real. I know it because it hurts so much. But perhaps you have questions about faith and are kind. Yes, what are we? There's the usual story, which most of us believed, especially before modern times. Cain was the first murderer. As punishment, God cursed him to walk in darkness and carry his mark. Cain passed on his curse as he drank the blood of the living, and thus we were born. God's curse passed on as someone new with each embrace. Maybe it's true. We all have our lineages, our sires and the sires of our sires. If you trace those lineages all the way to the top, you find Cain, the original vampire. I suppose God is cruel. The curse perpetuates itself, leading to new evils. I think it's pretty established that it's Cain. This is a lot of to take in. All these myths, hard to know what to believe. I know it's overwhelming. It was for me when I first met Father Anthony. I know there are others like him whose faith shines like a beacon. Priests, old ladies, children, anyone can have that conviction inside them. Before we talk anymore, I have to pray for guidance. I don't know what to think. Can I need help? Benoit nods patiently. Benoit. Benoit. Oh, man. Let's meet again in a few nights here at the cathedral. We can talk more after you've thought it through. You leave Benoit sitting in the shadow of the cathedral, contemplating what lies within. It'd be easier to ignore his words without the reality of what you experienced. Father Anthony was holy. You know it to be true, but what does that mean? All right, let's try this person again. You're in your haven when the intercom rings. Answering cautiously, you hear an older male voice. Hello, I'm calling because a friend asked me to come by and offer you my services. What do you mean, services? Services. You know what I'm talking about. Man sounds strangely excited, breathing hard. Oh. Like to feed? I need something to go on. She told me not to talk about these things in public. I know you're one of them. Please, it's all right. I don't mind. You can drink with me if you understand what I mean. Man you've never seen before is paying a visit to an apartment not many people know of, offering for you to feed for him. I don't drink with people I've never met. Don't worry, we can meet. Silence. A minute passes, and you hear a knock on the door to your haven. You cautiously open the door. Stranger looks at you sheepishly. He's in his 30s, dressed in a clean business suit. He looks moderately successful, someone you could meet at an investment bank. I'm sorry, I didn't want to intrude, so that's why I called from downstairs. You know what? Come on in. I was hungry anyways. Man looks comically satisfied as you usher him into your haven. He barely waits for you to close the door before he loosens the collar of his shirt, closes his eyes, and bares his neck in quivering expectation. You look at the man, taken aback by such forwardness. Figuring that you didn't invite the man here for a chat, you lean closer, take him by the shoulders, and sink your fangs into him. This is not an unpleasant way to feed. You reflect as the blood flows into your mouth. The food comes to your door of its own volition. Oh, it's like delivery. The man moans as you drink from him, lost in the ecstasy of the kiss. Feels a little unseemly, but it would be churlish to begrudge him his pleasures. I don't know. It's kind of weird. Taking care not to drink too much, you let go of the man after licking his wound closed. Suddenly, you're startled by a surprising sight. A woman, not very old, strangely dressed, is looking at you intently, only arm's lengths away. Before you can react, the mysterious woman opens your front door and vanishes from sight, leaving you to wonder whether you really saw her at all. Aren't you faster than her? As you stare confused, the man you drink from slips out of your haven and into the hallway, staggering a little from the effects of the kiss. You close your door, wondering what that was all about. At least you got to feed, if nothing else. All right. We hope, I guess, we've not met with yet. Really want to do hers, though. Let's go help D'Angelo. I guess I should be reading these. As you leave your haven, a homeless man bumps into you. You turn after him, but he blends into the crowd before you can even get a good look at his face. Instinctively, you check your pocket. A note, looking at Manhattan Bridge. Come over, D. Knowing there are only so many places with a good enough view of the Manhattan Bridge, you decide to check the ones that aren't likely to be crowded at this time of night. It doesn't take long before you hit the jackpot, Jane's Carousel. As you're walking along the pier, you notice a lonely figure sitting on the bench, steel flask in hand, his legs up on the railing. Soon enough, you hear a familiar voice. Evening turned to night, and as the final flickering rays of sunlight gave way to the kind nocturnal shadows, so did the last of the jabbering tourists give way to a blessed silence. And yet I couldn't shake the feeling. Pausing mid-sentence, he leans back over the bench backrest and looks straight at you, upside down. His face looks even creepier than usual. That I wasn't alone. That flask, is that what I think it is? Depends on what you think. It's a little something from my private reserve. I call it the drunken sailor because that's probably where it came from. Takes a sip, then points the flask in your general direction. Want some? Why not? Sure, why not? Take the flask and take a swig. It's blood, all right, mixed with other frivolous substances, some of which you recognize, while others you probably don't want to know. That's the spirit. Now that you're good and soused, there's something I've been meaning to tell you. There's been another one, down by the docks. Same MO, the blood, the graffiti. Yep, it was our gal, right? Victim sucked dry, same as before. Another sign on the wall. Something about the impending doom and, oh, Lord, he comin'. The particulars escape me. You know, that night I saw her, she looked so frail, so innocent. Deep inside I was hoping she'd be spooked, get out of town, that maybe, just maybe, that would be the end of it. But that's me, hopelessly optimistic. Any ideas why she's doing it? Doesn't really matter at this point. Whether she's Kane's chosen or just a poor girl gone nuts after a botched embrace, one thing is painfully clear. It gives you a look full of worry and sadness. She ain't gonna stop. Takes a swig as if to punctuate the sentence. So anyway, I've set up a meeting. Neutral ground, public space, shouldn't get too ugly. Still, I was hoping you could tag along. Is it Larson again? Nah, let's leave the poor schmuck alone for now. It's pretty clear he's just as clueless as we are. He looks away and pats the bench next to where he's sitting. You might want to sit for this one. Unless you want to introduce me to your parents, I can probably handle it. Come on, who is it? Valerie. That blood must be an amazing vintage because you sound frickin' hammered. Hardy frickin' har. Look, I know you two didn't exactly hit it off, but she's not as bad as you might think. I mean, in some respects, she's probably worse, but she can be reasoned with. Once again, he goes for the flask, but stops himself mid-motion. Look, the way I see it, we ain't got a choice. As much as I want to help Sana, she's clearly a few bats short of a belfry. More people are going to die unless we do something about it. All right, fine, I get it. Lesser of two evils. Lead the way then. I like your attitude, kid. I know it sucks, but hey, if there's one thing life has taught me, you don't always get what you want. Noticeably proud of his words of wisdom, he tries to top them off with one last swig. A single drop falls between his crooked teeth. He looks at the empty flask with the utmost contempt. Well, ain't that frickin' poignant? Muttering a curse under his breath, he makes a valiant effort to get up off the bench. As he staggers, struggling to remain upright, you offer your shoulder to lean on. He shoots you a smile that's as crooked as it is affectionate. Hey, kid. You meet his gaze, trying to look friendly rather than condescending. You're all right. And with that heartfelt moment, you bid adieu to the sprawling vista and make your way towards the bridge. Next stop, Manhattan. Entering the park from Midtown Manhattan, you promptly take a spot by one of the alleys, not very deep into the park. Minutes pass, 5, 10, 15. You start to wonder if she's going to even show up. Suddenly you hear a familiar voice, but with an unfamiliar tone. She sounds almost nice. Hello, Ginny. Who? Oh. And there she is, walking along the side of the fountain. She looks less out of place here than back at the junkie-infested hovel, but only by a slight margin. Something tells you there are only so many places she would feel at home, and probably not ones you would want to find yourself in. Val. She glances over at you, barely noting your presence. Sorry about last time. Nothing personal, you understand. When I get caught up in the moment, I can get a bit intense. I can attest to that. Can you two just get a room because the burning attention is just unbearable? D'Angelo gives you a pleading look. He clearly doesn't want you to dwell on the subject. You hear that, Ginny? Your friend has this all figured out. She takes a step towards you. The smell of her perfume is overpowering. Or maybe it's just jealousy. Although I'd be careful if I were you. Last time we got close, it didn't exactly work out for you. She's probably a praying mantis. Speaking of which, is that, man, there's werewolves, and is there like weird praying mantises? How's the neck doing? It's fine. I barely felt it anyway. She can tell you're lying. You can tell she's enjoying herself. I'm so glad. Now let's get down to business. We have a mutual beneficial proposition. Does the pup speak for you, Ginny? Because I'm getting a weird sorcerer apprentice vibe right now. Give the kid a break, Val. We're here about Santa, the thin blood you're after. The girl's a threat. We need to find her. Figured we can do it faster if we work together. Keep going, honey, because I have a feeling there's a catch coming. The catch is... Awkward silence. It's not often you see him at a loss for words. Seeing him struggle, you decide to jump in. We want the girl to stay alive. See now, that's a deal breaker right there, sugar. If you want me to even consider it, you'll have to sweeten the pot. Once again, she turns to D'Angelo. And I bet tall, dark, and handsome over here might have some ideas. Just tell us what you want. Oh, you're no fun anymore. She wants a higher profile target to show off to the prince what a good little scourge she is. That is all you care about nowadays, huh? Playing the game, climbing the ranks. Smile creeps onto her lips. You can tell it's forced. D'Angelo definitely knows how to get under her skin. That's my Ginny, a big old brain and a heart to match. Once again, she turns to you. I knew right away he'd try to help this girl. He does love him a damsel in distress. But you, I'm still not sure what your angle is. I don't have an angle, it just seems like the right thing to do. Oh, whoa, seriously? Ginny, you got yourself a live one? Good for you. So there, you know my terms. Contact me when you've made up your mind. Don't take too long, though. I'm a lucky girl. I might just find your little thin blood on my own. Still, I hope we can work together. We did make a good team back in the day, didn't we? So, slowly, seductively, she puts her arms around his shoulders. She glances over to you, clearly enjoying how awkward it makes you feel. Dee, once this meeting is over, you'll have some explaining to do. You hear that, Ginny? You're in some hot water now. Anyway, withdrawing from the strange half embrace, she flicks D'Angelo's nose gently with her index finger. Almost instantly, she turns from flirtatious to dispassionate. However this plays out, I have a feeling we'll meet again sooner than later. Until then, without sparing you another glance, she disappears down an unlit park alley. D'Angelo watches her go. The look on his face, a mixture of longing and guilt, is borderline comical. Finally, he turns back towards you as if breaking some spell he was under. Well, that could have gone a lot worse. Can you explain to me what just happened here? She wants me to give her Larson. Larson? Why would she want him? He's a primogen, remember? A weak one, but still. For a scourge, he's a much more valuable target than some no-name Duskborn. It's just so strange that a certain someone might have some dirt on him. He squints, rubbing the bridge of his nose. Frick it. I'm heading back to the office. Need to put my feet up and get some blood flowing to the old noggin. You coming? You nod. Why the heck not? And so you make your way towards Fifth Avenue. You've got a long way ahead of you and a lot of stuff to figure out. Although it's not your first visit, you still find it hard to navigate the dark, rust-ridden corner of the grain terminal. Luckily, this time you're with someone who could probably do this blindfolded, so you just follow his lead. As you're both climbing the rickety stairs leading to the mezzanine, you suddenly notice light coming from D'Angelo's office. A quick look assures you that no, he did not, in fact, leave it on. You bust through the door like undead Tango and Hooch. Where's that Turner and Cash? Ready to unleash unholy fury on the intruders. You have to expect an Anarch's death squad or an Second Inquisition hunting party. Instead, you get Larson, who nearly falls out of his chair when you two bust in. Well, look who it is. Missed us already? Hardly. Seemingly both intrigued and irritated by the surprise visit, D'Angelo walks over to a cabinet and pulls out a fresh cigar. Then may I ask what brings you, O venerable primogen, to my humble abode? Her points to a tiny shadow cowering in the corner of the room. To your astonishment, it turns out to be a very familiar face. The blood. No, not again, please. Did she tell you anything? She just keeps babbling about blood and signs and all this nonsense. She came to my house, probably figured out who I was. I thought I could help, but honestly I have no idea what to do with her. I mean, I should turn her into the prince, but that's just another strike against my people. Then again, I can't just set her loose, not after what she did. Frick, D'Angelo, you can tell that I'm desperate. If my first instinct was to come to you. No, Larson, I would attribute that decision to what's left of your common sense. He leans over to you. Hey kid, I think we should call it a night. Just give me some time to talk to the girl. Maybe I'll get through to her somehow. The sign, it's always there. Though I ain't holding my breath. Honestly, you're glad to leave him to it. Spending the night in a small room with a tiny serial killer somehow doesn't seem too appealing. Still, you're hoping D'Angelo will be all right. He's got some tough choices ahead of him. Silvery requests your presence tonight, and it seems urgent. You find her already waiting for you and clearly pondering something. It takes a few minutes of awkward silence before she speaks. I require your assistance, Calvin. There's a matter of great importance that I need to ask you to resolve for me. You will find what I'm about to say surprising, I'm sure, but I need you to hear me out. I need you to contact an important anarch figure in New York City and arrange a meeting for us. Wait, I'm pretty sure we are not supposed to meet with anarchs. We're at war, right? The prince does look unfavorably at those who meet with the anarchs. That much is true. You will find that with this, as with many other things, the Camarilla's policies have more than their share of hypocrisy inherent in them. It comes hand in hand with using medieval power structures. What we are forbidden to do, the prince may do willingly. Some of these things can be done in the open, while others are kept secret, as to not invite discord and discontent. I need to contact a man named Torque. He is an influential member of the movement, and like most of them, very suspicious of the Camarilla. That's why I'm sending you to extend my invitation. How do I know he'll even talk to me? He won't, not yet anyway. You need to start further down the chain and with the right story to spin. From my limited sources adjacent to the movement, I've gathered that your best chance to speak to Torque is to first meet with his right-hand woman, Mia. She's a regular at a club called the Leech Pit. I think it would be best if you presented yourself as an anarch hopeful, a fledgling looking for a place of belonging. Only after you talk to Torque directly should you mention my name and the meeting. I don't think that's the right approach. Lying to them won't make them trust me. When they find out the truth, they won't be happy or eager to work with us. That might be true, but if you tell Mia outright that I sent you, she's likely to cut you off. She hates our sect, and it will be difficult to make her listen to reason. After tonight, I suggest that we do not speak of this again until you arrange the meeting. There are many who would jump at the chance to use this against us. With Kaiser, you have proven you can get the job done, even if it requires additional legwork. I trust you to deal with this task as quickly and covertly as possible. Forgive me, but that's all the time I can spare tonight. What I'm asking of you is just part of a bigger whole. Trust me, it will all be worth it. Okay, I'll do my best. I know you will. Check with Gregory to the address of the Leech Pit. Have Mia introduce you to Torque. When she does, tell him I wish to meet. Let him pick the time and place, but let it be soon. If he proves too guarded, tell him I have something that will help him gather allies against Boss Callahan. That should pique his interest. Good luck, and obviously not a word about this to anyone else, not even any new friends you might have made in recent nights. This stays between us. The way she says that final sentence suggests a not-so-veiled threat, but her warm smile belies that impression. You want her to keep trusting you. You wouldn't want to disappoint her. Gregory gives you the address. The club is in Brooklyn. Apparently, it's some kind of heavy metal bar with a dedicated concert space. Time to pay this Mia a visit. The place is teeming with people tonight. You arrive in the middle of a concert. The music is loud, almost deafening. It takes you a while to get used to it. You recognize a phrase or two of the lyrics, realize that you know the song they're playing. A poster confirms your suspicion. It's a Life of Agony tribute band. They're not half bad. A group of a few dozen patrons are tightly packed together and the smell of their sweat and youthful, excited blood overwhelms you momentarily. It's with some difficulty that you turn to the task at hand. You've heard your share about the anarchs and how they fit into kindred politics, but you only have your short encounter in Corona Park on which to base your actual opinion of the faction. That might have been just a horrible first impression, but you're keeping your guard up just in case. You take a walk around the club. There are a few side rooms and a spacious bar area. You listen on one conversation taking place with voices hoarse from shouting. Walk in on a particularly sloppy threesome in the bathroom, and eventually hit the dance floor for a better feel of the place. As the concert comes to an end, you witness one of the guests, a feisty-looking girl, get into a scuffle with a much larger, drunk guy. She doesn't seem to appreciate him reaching around her waist, slapping him with an audible crack that sends him to the ground unconscious. Two bouncers break up the crowd and pick up the drunk to carry him outside, without so much as questioning the woman. You get an inkling that she might be who you were hoping to find. You approach her as she's about to leave. Yeah, the frick do you want? She's still seething and bares her teeth for just a moment, but you've learned what to look for in a kindred. You're pretty sure she's one of you. Kind of new to this whole being dead thing. Care to introduce me to the way you anarchs handle it? Seriously, that's the best line you came up with? She doesn't smile, but she doesn't hit you either. Follow me behind the bar. She leads you through the bar to a back door that leads into a side room. Indie metal bands' posters are plastered on every wall, some of them 20 or more years old, judging from tour dates. Old sticky table and some rickety chairs are the only piece of furniture here. Sit down. Sure. Take a seat as the woman leans against one of the walls. The name's Mia. I'm guessing your visit here isn't a happy coincidence. I don't know you, so you're either new to in New York or keep an outstandingly low profile. Both sound suspect. So before we take these pleasantries further, answer me this. Who do you run with? Cambry, I guess, but I'm looking to switch. Is that so? She looks you up and down. It's hard to read her. Okay, sure, I'll bite, but let's get one thing out of the way. She leans in. If this is some clever ploy to oust me from my domain, or if you're just here to spy on me and the movement, I'll make sure that you don't enjoy undeath much longer. Got it? You can tell it's a purely rhetorical question. Right, here's the pitch. The Camarilla like to think they're the vanilla option, what with Prince Itch Panyard pretending that they were always in charge, but New York has never been a fully cammy city. They might have won the city in '99, but cams have had their behinds handed to them many times over the years. The movement has been here at least as long as they have. Heck, I moved to New York before World War II, and that was a good while after I saw the Camarilla for what they are, a way to keep us all subservient and in line. The Ivory Tower will tell you they're the only safeguard for the traditions, and that's kind of the problem. There's only one tradition we in the movement feel should be respected, the masquerade, obviously. Everything else, ask the prince and she'll tell you it's the logical continuation of the masquerade, but really it's just a way to keep the elders powerful and in control. That might be true. She grimaces. But here's the thing, for all the talk of us bloodsuckers being solitary creatures, we need a community to keep up with the masquerade. Community, yes, but authority, not so much. We need a council of peers to keep the booty holes and power-drunk fledglings in check, but not a feudal prince to tell you where to feed or who to hunt down when they step on her toes. I don't know. I mean, the council's going to be just political. She takes a brief break from her indignant rant, at least in a lot of ways. That sounds too good to be true. Mia bares her teeth in a predatory smile. You better believe it. Sure, we still have to struggle with the urges of our kind, but it's safer and more fair. Whereas fair, it's the stupidest word in the English language. We're as free as our condition permits, but unlike Tarkus, we don't stand alone. Nominally, a guy by the name of Callahan has been overseeing the movement agenda in New York City. For the past few decades, most follow his lead. Is Callahan like a kind of prince, but for anarchs? Yeah, that's about right, which isn't the way things should be. It's because it always is how it turns out. It's like a joke. If you're concerned about being well received in the city, you might need to go through Callahan. But if you're serious about the anarch cause itself, he's not your guy. Callahan eats up fledglings like you and poo out self-preservation. His position as Baron is mighty shaky now, no least due to the fact he's backstabbed more than his share of allies. So he's doing what any other old fart in a position of power would do. He's doubling down. Negotiations are out. Intimidation is in. Tightening ranks as a precaution against the Second Inquisition. She surprised you by hacking and spitting on the ground in disgust. If you spent some time with the Cams, that should sound very familiar to you. He's no better than Panhard, and her cronies are at this point. No, you need to contact Torque. And wouldn't you know it, it's your lucky night because I'm the lick to do it through. Torque, huh? Why him? Because he's one of the good guys, or at least as good as we leeches can be. Torque is a leader, a local baron who's overseeing a small domain, but doing a very good job of it. Callahan knows this, so he's given him poo. Torque is taking it like a champ. He's smart like that. For one of us rebels, he's got the patience of a saint. Makes you think back to how things used to be back when, if the stories are to be believed anyway. You want to meet him? I'm going to require a show of goodwill first. That's fair. What do you have in mind? She flashed you a mischievous half smile. I appreciate your readiness, but I don't have the details just now. Ask for me at the bar when you're able. I'll leave something for you, and we'll take it from there. Now come on, I gotta go. She walks you out of the bar, and you go your separate ways. Seems like there's nothing more to do than return her here later and see if Mia really can help you contact Torque. All right. Let's check up on our guy. Frank Doherty, a shining example of journalistic excellence, is trying to get in touch with you. This can't mean anything good. Visiting Sophie's haven, the doorman stops you. You've been here enough times that he recognizes you and says there's a note left for you. You ask about the person who left the note, and the doorman gives a description that can only be Frank Doherty, the reporter. Once you get the note, you step aside to read it. I have what you asked. Everything, all the details. This is crazier than you can imagine. Come to meet me at the Beautiful View Motel in Queens. I'm waiting for you. The note is unsigned. All right, I thought I'd go through this, but I really probably should call it a night. Thanks for watching episode 7 of Vampires the Masquerade Coteries of New York. That's the first time I didn't actually have to stop and think about it before I said it. Anyways, we will continue another night. I think I probably have at least the same amount of episodes left before I finish this game. I don't know what people were talking about, but oh well. The story's been interesting. I've been glad so far they've at least made me make some decisions, and haven't just tried to pigeonhole me into like a set story. I mean, I'm sure the endings will be set to however they want the results to be. But anyways, thanks for watching. Have a good one.